Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing.
And too much for Crawford in his last fight against Madrov. Was that Madrov? That was a tough fight for him. About a guy, what, he had 10 or 11 pro fights. That was a tough fight for him.
In my opinion, both size might matter, but then again, I think since when I fought Canelo's become a better boxer. He started boxing more better. You know what I mean? Technical.
After the Jake Paul fight went wrong, the situation with Canelo Alvarez has taken a turn as new reports about a surprising four-fight deal have emerged from Turki Alalshikh. Canelo, the Mexican boxer, has faced a lot of criticism lately for his unusual choice of opponents and business moves. Recently, there has been a lot of buzz in the boxing community about a potential fight between Canelo and Crawford, which now appears to be moving forward. Reports suggest that the whole thing with Canelo fighting Jake Paul was just a strategy to get more attention for the upcoming news. Reporter Mike Coppinger tweeted about this entire situation. ESPN story on the twists and turns from a wild night in the boxing business as Canelo Alvarez nixed a Jake Paul fight at the 11th hour to close a four-fight deal with Riyadh season with a May fight in Saudi Arabia and a September bout with Terence Crawford. His Excellency Turki Alalshikh shared more details on his Twitter account about a four-fight deal with one of the biggest fighters today. Despite facing criticism from analysts and experts, they kept their promise and succeeded. This deal will give fans the fights they've been waiting for, and they will take place in Riyadh, setting a strong example. He also mentioned plans for a major fight in May, which he says will be the biggest in the sport's history, followed by two more big fights in 2026.
Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing. In September, then two more fights in 26. Don't miss with the line.
The names of the opponents for the upcoming fight haven't been officially announced yet, except for Crawford. There is a lot of speculation about who they might be, especially from Mike Coppinger, who thinks the May fight will involve either Jermall Charlo or Bruno Sarase, depending on their availability. Looking ahead to next year, the plan seems to include a rematch with the strong Russian fighter, Dmitry Bivol, or a fight with Hamza Shiraz or Chris Eubank Jr., depending on how those fighters perform. Following this surprise news, the fighters have expressed their excitement about finally getting this fight. Canelo, who typically doesn't make official comments until things are confirmed, tweeted in response to Turkey supporting the idea of his fight with Crawford and a very profitable four-fight deal for Riyadh season. This deal would help him earn a lot of money, which he has wanted for a long time. Turkey's first tweet said, "Don't mess with the lion. For fights for Canelo with Riyadh season, the deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle." In answer to which, Canelo tweeted, "Let's go, brother." Terence responded to the recent comments from others by sharing his thoughts on Twitter. He said that after months of hard work and discussions, he is ready to prove he deserves this fight. He wants to show the world his skills by going up against a top fighter like Canelo. Terence wrote, "I'm waiting for Canelo in September and plan to surprise everyone during the Riyadh season, so I'll keep updating you." Although there has been a vast majority who appear delighted by this new development, there is still a certain group who is not happy with the entire ordeal and has turned to criticizing not only the fighter involved but also the entire management. Behind the scenes, Jake Paul, a well-known figure in this group, was not happy about the change of plans. He felt his name was being used just to attract attention to something he has nothing to do with, and he criticized the fighters and a certain leader for their ridiculous ways. Jake stressed that in this era fighters tend to value money and fame over loyalty, which seems to be the biggest downfall for the sport. Jake wrote, "Fighters forget who made them so quick, can't bring around these weirdos who live to make a percent. Fee of them you and your 2010 business skills," making no attempt at hiding his contempt for the Mexican fighter who supposedly ducked him. The notorious boxer took to Twitter to state his disappointment while making harsh comments that regardless of everything that he has labored away in the pursuit of fighting the best of the fighters in the elite positions still tend to undermine and duck him for far easier fights, where they have the shitty of winning, which in the hindsight goes on to show that they were never really that great or commendable in the first place. He also added that even though he has been an avid supporter of fighters making their own choices and choosing what is best for them for a boxer like Canelo to duck a fight with him even after making countless claims regarding Turki's business strategies goes on to show that he has no loyalty to the sport or his origin and only wants to satisfy his own selfish needs rather than creating a meaningful legacy for his fans. Jake wrote in his tweet, "Breaking news: Canelo Alvarez ducked me. Jake Paul is now an own slave with no regard for the pride of the Mexican people who support him on US soil. It's not surprising that his whole career he has done nothing for the sport of boxing outside the ring. I'm the new face of boxing." With all this being said, the fighter then ventured on his own image as a fighter, claiming that after the worldwide success of his fight against the legendary fighter Mike Tyson, he has transformed into a global sensation and is now being recognized as one of the best fighters of this generation. So, if anyone states that they are going to organize a huge event, then it must include his name, otherwise all these claims are nothing but a facade to plate the fans. Now, although it is evident that Jake is frustrated by this refusal, he appeared nonchalant at the end of the tweet by making comments that he is now going to let any of these actions get to him anymore, as in the next few years he will not only transform the sport altogether, but he will also be remembered as the face of boxing. Jake added, "You cannot have the biggest fight of 2025 without my name involved. When all of your events tank and lose money, you will all realize who the king of the sport is. 28 years old, the biggest fight in boxing history. My own boss has not owned me for 5 years, and all of you felines want to see me fail. But God has other plans. It's the era of good, the era of the elephant, and the era of MPV." Also poking fun at all the personalities who undermined his methods involving the fight business, especially during the interview involving the famous former fighter and analyst Chris Algieri. Turki took to Twitter to share countless tweets where he addressed this ongoing situation, seemingly emphasizing that although sometimes the negotiations cannot be revealed to the public before proper contemplation and some drastic measures have to be taken in order to get the maximum coverage, it does not mean that people have the right to make blatant accusations and start criticizing him, considering how they don't even know what is going on behind the scenes.
Fight is not definitely off. This could be a ploy by both sides. One, Turkey using his media arm to put the pressure on Team Canelo, and Canelo being like, "Hey, listen, I don't hit the rush for anybody. You're waiting on me." So I think both of them are jockeying back and forth with their egos and their power. So this fight very well may happen, probably still will. But I think it's going to take we're not going to hear about it till, like I said, a normal Canelo fight 5-6 weeks prior.
You and the man who hired you always had wrong guesses. On the other hand, amid this continuous back and forth between all these personalities, countless members of the industry have also shared their thoughts on the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, including the prominent promoter Frank Warren, who believes that this upcoming fight between the two of the great fighters is far better than the atrocious bout between Canelo and Jake Paul, sarcastically making fun the young fighter for ever taking this fight seriously. Frank stated that even though he admits that Jake has improved over the years, he is nowhere near the level to demand such against such names, and it is better if he sticks to fighters of his own caliber and weight, as there are countless contenders in his own weight class whom he can call out rather than taking on a fighter who is at a lower division than him just for the sake of gaining notoriety, saying,
The fight's off, correct me if I'm wrong.
Currently, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, off in September, and the word in the street is they're trying to make him against Jake Paul, and one of the sticking points is maybe the weight. Money had determined that, wasn't it? Everybody said they want to see Jake Paul fight somebody.
What do you
He's going to be fighting
actually
somebody. Tough fight. I mean, I want to see the Crawford fight. That's the fight I want to see.
Sharing his expert analysis regarding the now confirmed fight, Frank weighed in on the last couple of performances displayed by both Canelo and Crawford, stating that even though he is aware of Terence's skills and his unprecedented attributes, he will be supporting Canelo in this fight based on the most apparent advantage that he seems to have over his opponent, which is the size factor. Along with these factors, Frank also highlighted the other side of this conversation, how after years of fighting and winning against some of the toughest contenders in their respective weight classes, both fighters have reached a stage where they are getting older every day, and they have no time to idle around, so it is best for them to get as many fights as they can before their power runs out.
Do you see the Canelo and Crawford fight panning out from your perspective? Obviously,
I fancied Canelo. I think Canelo is I mean, with the greatest respect to him, he's obviously older and whatever. And I think he's when you get to a certain time in your career where you're not going to get any better, you're only going to get worse. And but I still think he would be too big and too much for.
Frank also talked about Terence and his chances at winning this fight, which, according to the promoters, seemed to be slim based on his last performance against a much bigger and younger Madrimov, where he not only struggled throughout the fight, but also failed to accomplish any promising victory, which might be concerning when he is deciding to move to weight classes up to take on a fighter who is a much more lethal threat, as compared to the relatively less experienced Madrimov.
In his last fight against Madrimov, that was a tough fight for him. About a guy, he had 10 or 11 pro fights. That was a tough fight for him.
Just like Frank Teofimo, Lopez also expressed his sentiments regarding this fight, emphasizing that irrespective of whom you support in this fight, their performance leading up to this eventual bout will be a major player in this battle. Because based on the exact points raised by Frank, both fighters are at a stage where they are getting old and have started to show certain signs of slowing down, so only time can tell which fighter will be the most affected before they enter the ring against one another. Adding on, Teofimo explained his analysis by stating that in this era of boxing, although fighters tend to maintain their images and fighting styles, at the end of the day you are only as good as your last fight, because no matter how spectacular you might have been throughout your career, if you failed to deliver a promising performance for a mega fight, then you are automatically downgraded to the status of an underdog in the upcoming fight.
So how do you think Canelo and Crawford could play out?
Yeah, that's what it's been talking about. They've been talking about it. I mean, listen, they just gotta win their fights first, and then we'll see what happens then. You know what I mean? If they're gonna fight before they fight each other, I think that's the smartest thing for both parties. And then we see how they look, and we go from there. Because nowadays, in the modern day era, you're only as good as your last fight.
However, looking at the past comments issued by the fighter from only a few days back, it is quite evident that he believes that it will be the Mexican fighter who will win over his American foe based on his superior skills and bigger size. Now, according to many people online, especially Bout fans, these comments issued by Teofimo might be biased based on how both these fighters have shared a rather close, cordial relationship since last year and have been participating in countless sparring sessions in the last couple of months in hopes of getting to know each other's styles and boxing strategies.
I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm always gonna talk my shit, but it's not shit, it's really truth. We're gonna back it up though. What round does Crawford get knocked out? I'm gonna put 8. Let's put it on the universe. So I'm gonna put it on 8. 8. And if it goes the other way, I 8. You know, I 8.
Another prominent fighter who shared his thoughts on this highly anticipated match is Amir Khan, who seems to be in support of Crawford, not only based on the close relationship with the fighter, but also for the fact that after sharing the ring with him countless times during various sparring sessions over the years, Amir believes that if there is anyone who is capable of taking down Canelo based on their sheer skills, then that fighter has to be Terence Crawford, labeling this fight as one of the best in the last couple of years. The British fighter commended Bud for his choice of moving up to weight classes to fight one of the best fighters in the world while being fully aware of the massive odds that are stacked against him.
Look, there's weights for a reason in boxing, and even though I got a huge respect for Terence Crawford for showing the balls that he wants to go in the ring and fight a beast like Canelo, but like I said, Canelo, maybe Crawford sees something that you know, other people are not seeing against Canelo, which is like maybe he's gone past his sell-by day, and maybe Crawford is the guy to catch him at the right time in fight. Let's see if it happens. But like I said, if it doesn't happen, obviously I'm going to support my boy, Terence Crawford. He's a good friend of mine. Obviously we fought each other, but sometimes you put that to a side, and he shared the training camp with me last time. He spent some good time with me. I was at his house, and always shows love. So
Being someone who has observed the fighter during his countless training camps in the last couple of months, Amir emphasized that even though Terence is renowned as a more statistical fighter who usually gets the edge due to his sheer experience and his remarkable ability to adapt and switch stances in accordance with the strategies employed by his opponents, Terence is also a very powerful hitter and can drop down any contender under the appropriate situation regardless of their weight or size advantage over him.
I wish him all the very best, and I think he can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One thing about Terence Crawford, he has great box IQ.
Yeah.
His IQ is so perfect where he'll see everything. So yeah, everything in the game. You need from your ring IQ. You need the movement, you need the power, you need the speed. And Crawford does hit hard. A lot of people don't give Crawford the credit for the punch power he has. But Crawford does hit hard. I mean, I've been in the ring with him. He's hit me hard.
While talking about the dangers that Terence might face during his fight against Canelo, Amir reminisced about his own fight with the Mexican fighter way back in 2016, where, just like Terence, he was making a huge weight jump in order to take down one of the best and youngest fighters of this generation. While recalling what led to his ultimate defeat, Amir stated that even though skills play a major part in boxing fights, eventually, under some conditions, weight and size tend to overpower all the other aspects, and that is exactly what happened in this fight between him and Canelo, where he had to face defeat by the ruthless hands of a much more ferocious and hungry version of Canelo.
2 divisions is something I did back in the day when I was at the peak of my career after beating like Devin Alexander and all the big names.
What was I thinking? What was I thinking?
But that takes a lot of
Canelo was
balls.
the beast, man. Canelo was the beast, and you know when it was offered to me, I tried to chase the Mayweather fight at that time, and it happened. And obviously, I was probably at my peak of my career there as well. So. Whoever I was gonna fight, I was gonna give him a hard fight regardless. Because we were probably winning that fight against Canelo until he knocked me out. But I was boxing well. But you know one thing, size. Now I understand why they make weight divisions in boxing. Every weight division. But then
Warning Crawford regarding the immense challenge that awaits him in September, Amir stated that since his fight with Canelo, the fighter has not only managed to get much bigger and ruthless, but has also become a much better boxer than he was ever before. Something that became quite apparent during his fight with Jaime Munguia, where regardless of the criticism surrounding him and his overall shape or skills, the fighter managed to secure a remarkable victory for himself, which is something that can prove to be quite a hassle for anyone, especially for a fighter who is going to make a huge jump and wait in order to get into this fight.
I think Crawford, in my opinion, but size might matter. But then again, I think since when I fought Canelo's become a better boxer. He started boxing more better. You know what I mean? Technical more. Especially against the last fight against Mangui. He boxed really well as well. And he's looking really good. He's still, a lot of people might say, oh, he's getting old, this, another. But no, Canelo's still a beast.
Keeping these factors raised by Amir in mind, and after analyzing the recent training clips that Canelo and his team are sharing, it is no surprise that the fighter has transformed into a lethal beast who seems to be in the best possible condition of his career and has a clear motive for his next possible starter. G's to not only get the most lucrative fights before the end of his career, but also to make sure that these fights aid him in cementing his legacy as one of the most accomplished boxers of the age who fought some of the best fighters that ever lived. So in the end, what are your thoughts on the new events regarding this whole fiasco? Are you excited about this surprising four-fight deal between Canelo and Riyadh season, which includes the most awaited fight with Terence Crawford? Or are you disappointed at this choice and favor the fight with Jake Paul? Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked the video, like and subscribe to our channel.